Hey guys, so here's our video on how to do the graphic organizer for our extended response on the theme of isolation. And of course, as you probably realize, we are comparing um, the theme of isolation in two different works. So while this graphic organizer might look a little familiar to you, especially the color coding, um, you obviously probably notice that it's different too. And the reason that for that is because we're now comparing two different texts or sources. It could be a video and a text, it could be anything. In this case, it's two different texts. Um, and so because our end product's going to be different, our planning page needs to be different. All right. So of course, first we start with reading the prompt. So compare the theme of isolation or loneliness in both All Summer in a Day by Ray Bradbury and the poem Momentum by Catherine Doughty. So you'll notice here that the first thing I did was I left you guys space to do the topic sentence, okay? Because now we've done it with a lot of structure and support once. Now you can write your own topic sentence, but I do give you that reminder that the title should be blue, the author should be red, and then you should use words from the prompt to finish your sentence. So, for example, we're going to say no, we do not need quotation marks by that. Sorry, in the text. And yes, it's a short story, but it's really safe to call anything that's written, it's safe to call it a text because everything that's written is a text, whether it's one word or 1,000 pages. So that helps you from not knowing, is this a poem, a novel, a short story, a book? Just call it a text and you'll be good. So in the text, now we're going to go and change this to blue. All Summer in a Day. We're putting this parentheses because it's a short work by, oh, that is not what I wanted to do, y'all. By, and then in red, we're going to put the author, and we're going to spell the author's name correctly because it's right here for us, Ray Bradbury. If you need to, copy and paste it and then just change the color to red. But you absolutely have to spell titles and authors correctly, especially if they're provided for you, okay? So in the text, All Summer in a Day by Ray Bradbury, and Momentum. Again, a poem is a short work, so we're going to put it in quotation marks, and I'm going to really make sure I don't spell this wrong. Momentum by Catherine Doughty. I need to put that in red. I'm going to spell, there's different ways to spell Catherine, so I'm going to make sure, Doughty, so I'm going to make sure I don't do that wrong. Okay, now I'm pulling words from the text. It says to compare the theme of isolation or loneliness. So there must be a theme of isolation and loneliness in those two texts. So I'm going to go ahead and say something about that in my topic sentence. So in the text, All Summer in a Day by Ray Bradbury and Momentum by Catherine Doughty, the theme of isolation, and then blah, blah, blah. I'm going to put ... And remember that in our class, ... means you finish the sentence. I'm not going to tell you how the theme of isolation impacts the plot, impacts the story, or in what ways or in what different ways, because that's what you've got to get to. So I'm not going to tell you that. So the ... and I'm going to make my screen really big here for a second so that you can see that. The ... right here is my signal to you to finish this sentence. You absolutely do not want to have this be your whole sentence when you submit this, and with it ending with a ... That would be a fragment and it would not be answering the question. The other thing I realized is that I said in the text, but this is two texts. So I need to go ahead and edit myself a little bit there. Okay. Now, now what we're going to do is notice that the way that this is structured, this graphic organizer is structured. So first of all, this column right here just kind of tells you about how many sentences each one of these things needs to be, okay? And then this will be your quote from the text, a text. I'll tell you right now, you're not going to have every single one of these be a quote. That would be what, like 6 quotes? I'm not going to have 6 quotes in here, but it's just that you could have them and they might be in these different parts of this text. And then here, you'll see that 6th, 7th, and 8th graders need to do different things. All of you need to analyze theme, but in different ways, right? So, yeah, so it's just a different, of course, 6th graders, you do a little bit less than 7th, and 7th, you do a little bit less than 8th. Whatever grade you're in, that's the color that you need to type in, okay, when you type in these boxes. These boxes are already color-coded for you, so just keep them that color, okay? So we're gonna now, when we start this, you're gonna do this little bits at a time, right? And you might even write this topic sentence last or near last. Sorry, my dogs are being very bad. Last or near last, because you don't know how it impacts both, how the theme impacts both stories, or you can't compare them until you've read them both and analyzed them. So you might be writing your topic sentence not first, and that's okay. So if you've read All Summer in a Day, okay, and you have decided, yeah, oh man, the theme of loneliness really impacts people in how they behave and how they're so kind. That's not true at all. That's me joking with you. So now you're going to go find a quote to prove that. And it's not that they're so kind, but so I'm going to come over here to the text, and I'm going to do just what I did for the first one. I'm going to find good quotes and I'm going to copy and paste. And remember that you do have your note catcher. Use it. If you've got a good quote in your note catcher, use that. If you have, but if you want to find another quote, that's fine too. So I'm going to, let's just pretend like Margot stood apart from these children who had never remembered a time when there wasn't rain and there wasn't rain and rain and rain. That's not actually a great quote, but I'm going to pretend to select it because I want to show how, I want to allow you guys to find your own quotes this round, okay? So I'm going to pretend like I'm going to copy and paste that. And then here goes back to my graphic organizer. So this is the exposition that happened to happen in the exposition, or it could have happened if it happened in the rising action. I would write my answer here. Remember, the exposition is sort of like the background, but a good story will have exposition woven throughout. Okay, so wherever you think it falls, and talk to myself and or Miss Agudelo for help on this one. It doesn't totally matter. Like if you get these wrong on this one, it's not a huge deal. But so I'm going to pretend like this is rising action, and I'm going to copy and paste. But in this case, I'm really just going to write the blah, 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 because again, I need you guys to identify your own quotes this time. Okay. You also will notice, guys, that I set this up to be hopefully a little bit easier for you guys. I found that leaving the big wide space for you to copy and paste was not very useful. Okay, so what I'm trying this time is that you really should be able to just come in here, highlight the word quote, and then boom, paste it. And then, guys, if this comes in and see how the word win should be by the word time, you've got to delete it because it should be one, like a regular sentence or line or paragraph. Oh, it's trying to kick me out. Yes, I'm still in this call. Okay, so you have to take it upon yourself to format this correctly. The other thing is, notice this comma and quotation marks and page number should be up near the word. Also, I need to delete the word rain, or I'm sorry, delete the period after the word rain because I'm using the comma. And then I need to figure out what page that number that was on. So come back here. Oh, it was on page 1. Okay, so I'm going to go back into here and I'm going to replace this hashtag, otherwise known as a number sign, with a 1. Okay, now I've just put in 2 quotes, both of which you honestly, yeah, really cannot copy because one literally just says blah, 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 blah. That doesn't make any sense. And this one is a quote from the text, but it doesn't make sense for what you're writing about. So don't copy it, right? Um, and actually, yeah, okay. So, I mean, honestly, maybe it kind of could, but don't find a different one. This one actually kind of could fit, but find a different one. Okay, so now I'm going to explain my thinking. So let's just pretend that for this one, I'm a 6th grader. Okay. So how I'm going to explain how this this relates to theme. So when blah 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 blah, boom. Oh wait, I've got some misspelled words, right? No, I don't. It's just all pretend. But I'm going to refer back. Here I might say, okay, oh, and okay, I do want to correct myself. I'm sorry. You don't need to change the color. It'll just auto-populate, not by grade. So I take that back. Just color by, hey honey. If it's whatever color it shows up, keep it that color, okay? Say hi. Hi. Okay. So here, I'm gonna explain how this quote relates to theme. So Margot was standing apart from the other children, and that shows, maybe I want to be fancy and say reinforces how she is alone, mentally and emotionally. That's my favorite phrase, mentally and emotionally on Mars or Venus. She'd be really alone on Mars. Okay. So then now you would go to the next text, which is momentum, right? And we're pretending fast forwarding. We have now read and analyzed this and blah, 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 blah. Let's pretend like this is a great quote right here. It's really not necessarily a great quote, but we're going to copy and paste, although take the whole thing, okay? And now I'm going to go back into the text, and I feel like that is happening in the exposition. So I'm going to copy and paste it. Oh, it did not show up the correct color, so I am going to change the color. That's on me, and it's this wonderful gold color. Oh, and it's a little off. Doesn't really matter. Kind of matters to me though, so I'm going to change it. Now, on that poem, we only have the 1 page, so you'll just say page 1, or if there's a second, if it goes to a second page. But when it's a page, a website, you're just going to say that it's one, unless it specifically tells you, just say it's 1 page. So page 1, and then I'm going to say, looking at the mountain shows how lonely you must really be, because a person, we don't want to address my reader, a person must really be, because who would bother to look at a mountain? Okay, that is obviously a nonsense sentence, but I am going to spell check it. These are nonsense sentences because, again, guys, you are moving towards finding your own quotes and explanations in this one. Okay, so now you need, Ms. Agadello and I will talk about whether you need 3 or 4 quotes. We'll let you know. But for I do know that you need at least 2 from All Summer in a Day. Then you would move on to the conclusion. And again, you're not going to introduce and repeat any quotes. Oh, and that's another thing, guys. Don't repeat any quotes in this column. Just don't. You don't need to. Okay. So you're not, in the conclusion, you're also not going to repeat any quotes. You are also not going to restate everything, but you're definitely going to mention theme. Okay. You're definitely going to mention isolation. And you'll notice that, of course, I mentioned those things up here, because I'm explaining how the theme or isolation, how they relate. So I need to explain how they relate down here. So the conclusion, or over here also. So the conclusion is where we're going to tie it together. It might say, okay, well, the theme of isolation is shown to be very different in, and then I'm going to probably have to use the text titles again because I'm comparing them. All Summer in a Day and Momentum, because in All Summer in a Day, or we could just say because Margot is happy to be alone. No, she's not. Don't write that. This is an example so you don't copy. Because Margot is happy to be alone while Fred, there's no Fred, is depressed and is harmed by his isolation. The two, and then I'm going to wrap it up. The two texts, well, no, I've already said it. They show it to be different. Okay, that's enough. So now what I do is I copy and paste just like before. Okay, so I have this sentence, which of course I have finished. Okay, and you will just copy and paste it. So it might look something like this. Okay. Okay. And then you just go right down the order. Go with exposition first because that's the order that you found it. And just copy, or not the order that you found it, it's the order of a short story, sorry. And paste. Okay. Copy and paste. Okay. And again, I'm copying and pasting so that all of my work is one big paragraph. Okay, and so if I only needed, if my teacher, Miss Wainwright or Miss Agudelo said I needed 3 quotes, then this would be my 3 quotes with their explanation. A quote always has to go with an explanation. But if my teacher said 4, so 2 from each, then that's what I'll do. Okay. All right. So pretty simple process here. You're going to have, if you have 3 quotes, then that equals at least 6 sentences, right? Because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 6 sentences. And then of course you also have a topic sentence and a conclusion. So at the very least, this is going to be an 8-paragraph essay. Okay? Or extended response. All right. I hope that helps. And yeah, have a great day, guys. Bye.